Today I am making something super simple for dinner. I am doing a chili. So chili is pretty great because you can pretty much add anything you want to it. So I have in my pot already ground beef. You can make as big of a batch or as small of a batch as you really want, but chili is kind of a bigger, larger batch kind of meal. And then I did 1 large can of tomato juice. Then I'm going to add some chili kidney beans. You can add regular kidney beans or any kind of beans you really want. So we're going to add a whole cup. I did drain these a little bit. You could add it with the juice in there. That's totally up to you. And then I'm going to do some chopped onions. I like the frozen ones because I don't have to cry in order to use them. So I just get the already frozen chopped onions. I don't know, as much as you want in there. I'm not a huge onion fan. I'm also going to add some onion powder here in a minute. So basically, you could do 1 chopped onion in there. That would be fine. You don't really like onion, do a half an onion. And then I'm going to add noodles. We like the macaroni noodles in ours. This is, I realize, a northern thing, so I just have the elbow macaroni noodles. And just keep in mind those will swell as they cook. They didn't have any of the smaller boxes, so we're just adding, usually I do like 1 small box of them. So we're just adding about half of that one. Yeah, about half of that one. Like I said, that is going to swell as they cook. Your noodles do not have to be pre-cooked. They will cook in the tomato juice as it cooks together. You can season it however you like. Typically, I use the chili powder from the store. I am very low and didn't realize it when I was at the store today. So I am going to improvise and just kind of make my own, which is apparently super simple. So you need about 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of each of these things, kind of to your liking. So cumin, sprinkle. That's probably more than I needed, but it is what it is. Here's garlic salt. I like mine to be super flavorful because as it cooks, it kind of cooks off some of that flavor. So I'm adding quite a bit. But the recipe does say about 1 to 2, 1.5 teaspoons, sorry, not tablespoon, teaspoons of each of these. I'm going in kind of heavy because, like I said, mine cooks off and I like it flavorful and don't want to have to add more in later. So I'm adding a little bit more than that to mine. So anywhere from like 1 to 2 teaspoons of each of these. This is some paprika, some of the little bit of onion. We have onion in there, but it does call for onion powder. And my favorite herb is oregano. So I'm going to go a little heavier on that. So that's it. Then you just, I'm going to turn the heat up on it. I'm going to let it go to a medium heat and cook all together for anywhere from a half an hour to an hour. You can see my stove is already heated there. I'm going to give it a good mix, and then you want to make sure you stir it. A lot of people will put peppers in theirs. I don't really like peppers. I only do that when the man of the house is eating it, and he's not here. So you could also do chunks of tomatoes. Chili is really whatever you want to put in there. So now I know most Southern people call this goulash or chili mac. For me, in the northern states, this growing up was chili with the macaroni noodles. I think it's just because it's the only way that us kids would eat it. It's the way my kids will eat it, and I've loved it ever since. And then once it's fully cooked, I will, in my bowl, I will add some cheese and sour cream. So that is something you can add later on. And then eat it with saltine crackers. So super easy, super quick. It took a whole, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes to, ground up the beef and and drain it and get all the ingredients together. So easy. You could do this in the crock pot and slow cook it over time and let it really marinate together. But I'm going to cover it for a few minutes, just kind of let those noodles cook up good. And if you have fresh vegetables, so like my onions are frozen, so those will also need time to cook. If you have any peppers or any other kind of vegetables added, you just want to make sure you give it long enough to cook. Usually 30 minutes is good. The longer you cook it, so now you can hear, I don't know, it's starting to kind of heat up. So I'm going to turn it down to like a medium-low heat, and that way it doesn't scorch anything, burn anything. So you want to make sure you stir it throughout the course of your 30 minutes to an hour. If you let it go for an hour, you gotta watch the noodles, make sure they don't turn mushy, but it really gets those flavors incorporated. And then in the end, I'll taste it and probably add a little bit more of the different seasonings. Totally up to you. Again, I went in a little heavy-handed with them. So these are the spices I used again. Cumin, garlic, actually it's garlic powder and salt combined. Paprika, and this is not minced onion, that's just the label I had. This is actually onion powder, and oregano. So pretty simple to make your own chili seasoning. And then you can also, if you want a kick to it, you could add jalapenos, of course, but you could also add different spices to make it a little more spicy. It does say the optional spice would be cayenne pepper. That would give it a little more spice. I might add a little bit of it to it. I don't like spice personally. So then once this all cooks up, your liquid will kind of reduce. So I recommend getting 2 of the large cans of tomato juice, or whatever tomato product you're going to put in there. And that way tomorrow when I go to heat up the batch to eat leftovers, I will add in that second one, because it will, once it's cooled down and in the fridge, it will all kind of soak into the noodles and you won't have it as like a soup base. So I would recommend getting that second, unless you don't like it like that, unless when you eat the leftovers you don't mind it that way. But just keep that in mind. When it cools down, it will soak up, especially with noodles, all of that lovely tomato juice, and it'll dry it out. So some people, sometimes even I have added some water to it. That's totally cool too. So however, whatever. And that's why we love chili, because it's something that is totally transformable to your liking. So this time I'm not adding any peppers, and I don't like celery, so it's something else a lot of people add is celery to their chili. But there's so many different ways. So do you eat noodles in your chili? And if you do, what do you call it? Do you call it chili, or do you call it chili mac, or goulash, or is there another name that you call it when you add noodles to what we call chili?